Hello, this is Dietra, and you're watching DietraKelseyTV. This show is about arts and culture, and also people who are doing positive work to uplift our community. Today, our participants are Iesha Sekou. She's from Street Corner Resources. She's the founder and CEO. Sitting next to Iesha is Sumpter. She's a hospital responder at Street Corner Resources and a outreach worker. Sitting next to Ty is Dr. Jacqueline Wilson.
Hi,
how are you doing?
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. She's the founder of Surprise the Struggle. Mm-hmm. So we're here, and also I want you to introduce you to my virtual panel. We have Brother Daleel Muhammad. He's an anti-gang activist, also from Mosque number 7 here in New York City. And also we have Brother Leeworth X, also a youth anti-gang activist from Mosque number 7. Welcome to the virtual stage, everybody, and welcome to the show from Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
Thank
and
you.
again, you're
Good
watching DietraKelseyTV. So let's start with you, Iesha. What is your organization, and why did you start it? What's your organization about?
Well, my organization is Street Corner Resources, and we really, Street Corner Resources started, I would say, somewhere back in like 2002, but officially on paper as a 501c3, 2005.
Wow.
And so Street Corner Resources really was actually born before 2002. My mother's an activist. So I grew up in a household where we always did community work, and we always had folks staying in our houses, and we were always out in the community helping people on a lot of different levels. So I thought what we did I thought it was what everybody else did, but it wasn't. And so the start of Street Corner Resources, it was born to bring resources directly to the community, and the idea was to have a mobile unit to make those resources accessible to anyone on the street, particularly young people. And it took us 10 years, and we finally we have the mobile unit. I think you remember on one show, I talked about the mobile unit and that, how much we wanted it. Well, we do have it, and we're able to provide resources on the street, but we're also able to interrupt and disrupt and intervene where gun and gang violence is concerned.
So you brought Ty and Dr. Wilson, so they're part of your team.
Absolutely. Dr. Wilson is actually on our board.
On your board?
Yes.
Okay. So Ty, you're an outreach worker at the hospital.
Yes.
So how did you become that, and why are you doing this?
Well, first I would say that I'm doing this because I feel like it's blatantly my purpose. Coming from the places that I've come from, seeing the things that I've seen, experiences, the traumas that I have, I feel like it's only right for me to give back now that I know better. Now that I know another avenue in order to direct these young people that I wish somebody could have possibly directed me, I want to give that back to them.
Okay, Dr. Wilson, your organization. First of all, what type of doctor are you?
Philosopher.
A philosopher, okay. Your organization, Surprise the Struggle, what is that all about?
Surprise the Struggling. Surprise the Struggling is a nonprofit organization that like my mom said, call her mom too. Like she said, she founded hers way before it went on paper. So in my mind, I founded mine when I was a young girl in a homeless shelter at 18 with a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So the seed was planted then, went on paper in 2016, Surprise the Struggling. I named it Surprise the Struggling because I wanted to have something that didn't belittle homeless people or degrade them or make them feel like,
Oh, really?
I don't want to call it homeless. I didn't want to say surprise the homeless. Just struggling because, you never know. We could go home tomorrow and immediately, or tonight, and hit a struggle. So it's just not about people who are in the street.
Okay.
We provide the bare necessities for young women and young girls, sometimes men, pads, soap, deodorant, lotion, sanitizers, now masks, socks, journals, pop up on them. She hit the
Yeah.
streets
So
with
you're
me. A
surprised.
lot of nights we meet the people where they are.
Okay. all
So
right.
if that's in the street, if that's in the train station, ferry terminals, group homes,
That's what you all do.
sometimes, you know, the stroll where women work.
So you all be surprising everybody, just popping up.
Yeah. My
Let-
office is in my car.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's the
office
new
is
thing
in my
right now.
car,
Brother
so-
X, Brother Leeworth X, tell us about why you decided to become anti-gang activist, actually.
Well, starting all things in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I would like to greet everyone in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
I became a anti-gang activist because of the main reason is because of because of our community and seeing the senseless killing of brother to brother, and getting the understanding of why gangs were created in the first place, and the principles that uphold them and governed them at that time, was in a positive frame. But as we come to where we are now, down the parallel of time, the principles that govern the gangs now is not the same that it was when it started out. So my curiosity came in because I'm originally from Belize and I've seen gang ravaging in my home country as well, and I've seen it here, so it piques my interest, like, there's something deeper going on here. And I'm thankful to be an activist in this, to find out what's deeper, and to also help to enlighten my brothers and sisters who are in it.
Okay. Brother Daleel Muhammad, how did you come up with this concept about getting young people involved in the in gang activism, anti-gang activism?
Beginning all things in the name of the mighty creator Allah, who created us all and who is the controller and the director of all of our affairs. I'd like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
Thank you for that
alaikum.
question. That is a deep question. And the work of anti-violence or improving our community, it stems from Minister Farrakhan, who we give honor and praise to him, taking up the mantle, picking up the flag, and trying to create a safe and a decent place for us to live. A lot of us who subscribe to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of Minister Farrakhan knows that we have a reputation in the streets. We have a reputation of anti-violence and trying to bring stability in our community. What Bubba Leeworth talked about was the sociological path that some of us are deeply involved in when it comes to gang organizations, street organizations. But the negative aspects of coming together have reached a decline, whereas the violence has taken over our community, and it is not for social gatherings like it was and protection. It's fratricidal violence now and fratricidal homicide. So we have to put an end to that and bring our communities back to where it was.
Okay.
But I thank Minister Farrakhan for directing us and directing the Nation of Islam and the men of the Nation of Islam, the FOI, for being on the forefront, along with Sister Iesha Sekou and the Street Corner Resources, Man Up, with Brother A.T. Mitchell, and so many others, with Erica Ford, the Peacekeepers, and so many others that are working to quell the violence in our communities.
Here's a question I'm opening up for everybody. Why do people join the gang? You know, you hear so much negative reasons for people that are far removed from what's happening in the streets. Ty, and especially Brother X, could you all speak on that? Why, since you all are young, why do you think young people join gangs?
I will start with the basic absence of family, the absence of support and structures seek for these young people to go out and look for these things. Love, empathy, someone to care for them, shelter, is these things that they are without that they seek in the streets. If they can't find them in the home or they can't find them in the school, there's no other place I can go but to my uncle that I've seen around, or my cousin that I know hangs on the corner, or the older guy on the corner that I know I might could borrow some money from, that this then turns into a pattern.
Okay.
So when I look for love, I go there every day.
Okay.
And now going there every day, I've created a family base, and within that family base, that turns into what we see now. The gangs, the teams, the collection of people, who have missed something and found it elsewhere.
Okay, Brother X, do you agree, or do you have the same answer as Ty does?
Yes, ma'am. I certainly agree with what Ty has mentioned. It is a natural thing for us as young people to gather amongst ourselves in schools, around a common interest or around a common emotion that we may lack at home. As Brother Ty mentioned, that we look for love out where our cousins is, where our uncles are, and we get trapped in seeing what they're doing, and we think that it's okay. Like I got to do this to quote unquote maybe fit in, and that's what pulls them in. That's what essentially, I believe, pull them in.
Okay.
Because they're getting something outside that is lacking at home.
Okay.
I'm going to comment on that, if I may.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to interject in between both that it is our nature as a human being to want to belong. We're born being attached to our mother whose womb we came out of, right? And that sense of warmth and love and nurturing is carried over into our community. We used to be able, back in, what everybody says, back in the day, you would get that from your neighbor, you'd get a little hug. You would get that, from your big aunties and your uncles, and somebody would slap you 5 on the corner and all of that, and send you off to school. You'd be leaving for school, and you'd have a whole community of people who embraced you on your way to school. And if you were late, they'd ask you, why were you late? So all of that caring and love makes a young person feel good, makes them feel needed. And so when we have, as Ty mentioned, when we have the absence of that love and that nurturing, and you're walking down the block and no one talks to you, and you don't have money to go to the corner store to get your little snack to put in your bag, and nobody to just hug you and say have a good day or whatever, no place to belong from young. We're not talking older, we're talking from young. A lot of our young people are seeking to belong to gangs because from young they didn't have the love and the nurturing that sent them through their day. And so then they get caught up in situations with other young people who don't have that. And then that becomes a family, which we begin to call a gang. And then they find a name for themselves, and they choose their way of being. And so they have really geniusly have set up the gang culture.
Yes.
Through creating the family. So what we don't get, that that we need as a human being, our young will begin to set that up right in front of us.
Right.
And so our job is to intervene and provide those things. And the minister, Brother Daleel talks about the minister speaks about this often, about creating family and bringing our young people back to us. And so that's why my challenge is always to the community, to the brothers, is the courageous are not afraid of our young. Bring our young back to us, which means a provision of love and security.
And I'm going to get on that about being courageous in what you all doing. Dr. Wilson, I wanted to ask you, being in the shelter, did you see a lot of young people gravitating towards gang, being in the shelter? Because from what I understand, thank God, I have never lived in the shelter. I say knock on wood, but you never know what may happen. But
we're talking 28 years ago.
Okay, but it was still relevant there.
Yeah, gang violence was relevant then, but not as prevalent as it is now in New York City. So when I was in the shelter at that time, I was in the Bronx, 138 Jackson Avenue family residence. But you didn't see people weren't getting killed
Well,
every
right now,
single
but you're
day.
popping up. You're popping up, and you're popping up at shelters, like the homeless and everything.
Right,
You're
so you're
seeing
talking about, you
families.
said then, right?
Yeah, well, I'm switching it to now. Do you
Okay,
see?
so
see
now,
yeah. Do you see?
Do you
people
see
going,
violence?
No.
Well,
Do you see people, young
'cause
people
when you
gravitating towards the gang?
Well, as Street
Because
Corner
of their
Resources
homeless.
covers a plethora of violence.
Okay.
So responding to not just gun violence, domestic violence, you know, abuse, someone gets stabbed, any type of violence,
Okay.
all of that is violence. But it's the gun violence that screams the most. It's the gun
Yeah.
violence that screams the most. So are there people in shelters that are gang members? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Are there women who carry guns? Absolutely, there is. There's a lot of women that falls under domestic violence, where women are with men who make them carry a gun.
Okay.
Remember, you hosted those events. What was it called with the girls?
That was when we were working with girls who were straw buyers,
Wow.
and they would
Yeah,
go
you
and
had a
purchase
title
guns
for the event she used to host, a workshop.
south.
Women would carry guns for their boyfriends, whether out of fear or they just adapted to their environment, or that family
they
you said
become
was
gang
created.
members themselves, right?
Yeah, they become co-pilots.
Right. I want to ask Brother
And
X
accessories.
something. How do you approach these gang members to try to stop them from living that life? How do you go about doing that? Do you walk up to them while they're outside or on social media? How do you disrupt the violence? How do you do that?
It's a very, very good question.
May, I'll jump in.
Yeah, sure.
You know, Minister Farrakhan teaches us we have to meet a person where they are
Yes.
to bring them to where they need to be.
Okay.
They have to understand that we understand their plight, their condition, and we also came from that. None of us fell from heaven. We all came up from the grind, the grassroots, whatever you may call it. So they have to see a relevance. It have to be relatable to see that, okay, well, you came from the same place, you know, and you're here now. How can I get to where you are? We have to be able to relate to the youth and say that, okay, well, you know, we've done it and we've come back. We have the saying that each one teach one, each one reach one. If we reach back to our brothers and our sisters, we're able to help them with the knowledge that we bring.
Okay.
Can I?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Brother said. Meeting them where they are is exactly what we do at the Speak Peace Forward team. You know, canvassing the community, going out and engaging with the people, face front, and you know, giving them public information, resources at hand. Just trying to bring more cohesiveness back to the community. We meet them. You see me? This is my day-to-day uniform.
You know, I really
acclimated
want
into the
you
community.
meet them as well. Sister, I want to say this. When I think of first responders, I think of EMT workers.
Right.
I think I got my stage manager telling me we need to take this break.
Okay.
Getting
Please let me just ask this one. When I think of first responders, I think of police officers. I think of natural disasters. What is it that you actually do? I mean, you hear somebody gets shot, somebody call you, you call Iesha, you call Dr. Wilson.
Can I answer
you
this?
that? I want her to answer that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, collectively, we work with the community. Having the ties with the community and the relations that are necessary brings us into the mix of the violence that we have to denounce. Secondly, we work collectively with the hospital, in which we respond to anybody that's been shot, stabbed, or brutally beaten to provide resources and advocacy at that place. But when it comes to at the hospital, but when it comes to in the streets, we provide those direct resources as first responders by being on the scene, doing shooting responses, doing rallies, speaking to the people. This is my uniform. You see people with badges. This is my badge of peace. When people see us, they correlate our presence with positivity. They correlate
That's
our
right.
presence
So that's
with
your
support,
brand.
with
That,
help.
that
our
orange,
brand.
that SPF.
Yes.
You wanted to say something before we take this break?
Yes, when you said what is it that Street Corner Resources does, what they do, I just wanted to emphasize what a lot of people don't see that goes on behind the scenes with the executive director, with Miss Iesha Sekou. The overtime, consistent work that she puts in is 24 hours in a day. She is Street Corner Resources 23 hours and 90 seconds. Like, it doesn't stop with her. So what people see on the news, but they don't get to see what happens behind those curtains in Harlem Hospital. They don't get to see what happens on the phone calls when the parents are calling funeral homes, funeral directors, talking life into those losing life, holding people's children, going back and forth with the police. It's a very heavy job, and I know I'm not there. I can't physically feel it with her, but we talk every day.
Okay. Brother X.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to piggyback on that. I want you to elaborate on what do you do. I know our brother Daleel said something, but I know when I talked to you before the show, you said you all had a type of resources that you do for to stop the violence, the gang and gun violence.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate on that very quickly, please?
Yes, ma'am, certainly. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that our people are not what we are by nature. We are what we are by circumstances. And it is upon us to teach one another, to teach our brothers and sisters a knowledge of self, because they are victims of not having knowledge of self because of the circumstances that are not in their control, that they're living around or in the environment of.
Okay.
So here at the Nation of Islam, and we have a couple programs that we offer. One of my favorite program is self-development, the basis for community development. That is a study course whereby we go through a 22-part series of questions and answers and reading material that has acquainted me personally with my oneness with the divine creator, divine being. And it also helps us to relate to one another, to see the God within our brothers and in our sisters.
That's absolutely great. I like what you just said, Brother X, to see the God within you, to see the God within the brothers and the sisters and so forth. Summer, I am going to take this break, okay? We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
All right.
To get into college so young, you must be really smart.
I am.
Yeah.
What about you? What college are you going to?
Never gave it much thought.
Well, what do you want to be?
I mean, I like to build, architect, maybe engineer.
Okay.
What you want to do?
Ready?
I'm always.
A lawyer, doctor,
Okay.
computer scientist,
Okay.
and hairdresser.
Oh, wow, yeah. You are really smart. I like that.
You should apply to Hampton. It's a really good school.
I don't know. My grades suck.
There's time to improve your grades. Right here. If you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, nothing is impossible for you.
What is a mustard seed?
You can move a mountain from here over there. Real faith is all you need. Like a grain of a mustard seed. You can move a mountain from here over there.
Dietra Kelsey, host of SistahTalk TV show, and also the producer, director, and writer of the hip-hop gospel musical, Whose Side Are You On? What you just saw was an excerpt of the hip-hop musical, Whose Side Are You On? It's about Lamont Spencer. He's at a crossroads. Should he return to the church or stay with the gang who avenged his father's murder? It's a great play, it's family oriented, and I want you to come to see it. Go to our website at www.whosesideareyouonmusical and leave us your email address, and we'll contact you to let you know of the upcoming dates of the show. I want to leave you with this message. The road you take will seal your fate. Be careful of the choice you make. Whose side are you on? Welcome back. We're here at DietraKelseyTV talking about gang and gun violence. We're going to go ahead and talk about mental health. I have to say what you all are doing is phenomenal, courageous, I should say. I know you encounter mental health, mental issues. How do you go about trying to stop the violence when you're dealing with someone, let's face it, that's not in their right mind? Mm-hmm. Brother X, somebody may come to that organization and be very disruptive, and they may not be in their right mind. How do you deal with that?
Well, I'll tell you. So mental health issues show up in a variety of ways.
Right.
So that's sometimes the tricky part. You have to be able to assess what are you really dealing with. Mm-hmm. Because something that looks calm can become crazy in a matter of minutes from 1 to 100. And so our job is not a job where we make a definitive decision that the person has an ongoing issue. Right. Sometimes the issue shows up because it triggers other things from the past. It doesn't mean that the person, and we have to be real careful how we define mental health issue or mental illness, because some people are labeled throughout life, and what you define them as is what they become, right? So in situations where gun and gang violence, or just that whole feeling of responding to past trauma, we have to know, one, we have a social worker. And usually we're able to engage our social worker to engage that person. And this is before the gun comes out. A lot of our work is preventive. A lot of it is what people don't see. So the whole idea is to keep the gun from coming out, keep that person who may be traumatized and responding to past trauma from going to get the gun. So what it sounds like, I'll give you an example of what it sounds like. There's a fight, an argument. People go back and forth. And then you hear, yeah, well, I'll be back. I'm coming back. I'm going to get that. And then what we try to do is at that point is make the intervention before they go get the gun. And we encourage our community, when you see that, to encourage that person not to go do that, because that's the point where they kind of lose a certain kind of consciousness, right? They're angry, it's emotional. So our intervention is to begin to talk to them in a way to talk it down. We talk about what happens when you come back with the gun, the 25 years, the arrest, the not seeing your family. If they have children, to make that relationship right there, the correlation between the act and not seeing your children, something you love and you care about. So we have to speak to the mind and to the spirit of the person while we are at that point. So a lot of the work that we do on the street, when they say, how do you keep them from pulling the trigger? Sometimes you have to trigger that thing in them that is good, that they love, that they care about, and relate that to the action. And when you relate that to the action that they take, that they won't have that, then you get a person to begin to think again. You bring them, it's called de-escalation. You bring them from the place of the worst thought, the worst action, to bring them back to themselves so that they're calm enough to say, you know what, I don't want to do that, but that they don't lose lose pride in front of people, because that's a big thing too.
The ego,
face, yeah.
Brother X, I wanted to ask you if somebody comes in and all of a sudden starts wilding out in your organization, in one of your workshops in an organization, and Brother Daleel, you can jump in also. What is the protocol, or what is the mechanism that you all use to de-escalate the situation?
Well, sister, we have a check process, we have a check procedure whereby we check a person's spirit, how is their energy.
Before they come in?
A
Really?
series of questions.
Oh, wow.
Before they come in, yes,
right.
ma'am. We have a series of questions and answers that we engage with them to get a feel of what's the temperature like with that individual. And then we have a check procedure to check for weapons, because we wouldn't want that person to bring harm to our peaceful environment and where our children and our women are. Our whole thing is to provide a safe and peaceful environment. So we wouldn't want to bring in any of that. Thirdly, we also smell. If this brother has a whiff of marijuana on him, or if he smells a little bit intoxicated, we will ask certain questions to feel like, okay, and then we'll make a note, okay, keep an eye on such and such, just in case anything pops off.
Like the
So
cookout, right?
there's a process that we go through, but
Love
it's
that.
all rooted in the proper handling of our people, because we know what's going on in our environment. We know what surrounds our people. So we have somewhat of a comprehensive understanding of how to deal with them in a proper manner.
That's really good. It's really good to see young people that are involved, because I think every generation is the same mind-wise, but the culture or may be different. And I say the culture, social media may be different. How do you deal with people do you go out and try to intervene for all of you all, and Brother X and Brother Muhammad? Do you go through social media? How does social media plays a part in stopping, not promoting? I want to start with stopping the violence.
If I can say, social media does play a part, but the biggest part that is played, Minister Hafiz, our beloved student, Eastern Regional Minister, used to always say, may Allah be pleased with him. He used to always say, the work is in the streets.
That's right.
Work is in the streets. Sister Iesha mentioned the de-escalation. Yes, we have to, that's part of the process, from the prevention to the solution to the de-escalation. We have to deal with all of the aspects from our brothers and sisters in the streets and on social media. So it doesn't get to the point where, we have to console the mothers and the fathers and the siblings of someone who lost their life. We have to get to the point of letting our brothers and sisters know that they are valued, not only in the sight of their parents and their friends, but in the sight of God. We have to let them know that there is a bigger picture, and you do have a future. A lot of our youth, they don't see a future for themselves because of the cycle of violence that they lived in or living in. So we have to really point them to the way whereas they can see something greater within the community and within themselves. This way, they can help solve their problems themselves. And that's one of the things Brother Leeworth was talking about, the self-improvement, the 22-point program that we have. It helps build your will. It gives you a knowledge of God and a knowledge of self. And you self-analyze yourself, and you self-correct yourself, which will help improve yourself, your family, and your community.
Go ahead, Sister Ty.
I'm sorry.
No, Sister Ty, go ahead and speak.
I just wanted to jump in and say that, one, like the brother said, this work happens in the streets, Social media is a part of the streets. Thanks to the different array of trainings that we have been provided from Sister Iesha as far as gang activity training, as far as like work training, things that help us identify what we're looking at. Sometimes these things go under our noses because we don't know exactly what we are looking for, exactly what we're seeing. You know, these kids use a plethora of things to identify themselves with the connectivity, with the, you know, with the gang or with the team or with their family, you know, however you want to say it. But these certain trainings and our experiences as, you could say, peer specialists, being that we have been in these places as well, give us the best advantage when we are targeting these at-risk youth to know what we're looking at, to know what we're looking for, to be able to go on the page and relate that to that, or to be able to go on the page and see the disconnect between these two groups and try to cause an amendment and things of that nature. So social media is just as important as it is to be on the streets when you target these at-risk youth, because that's the world that they live in now.
Okay. Let's talk about COVID. COVID was a game changer for the universe.
Pandemic.
Period. Okay. Yeah, that's another show.
right.
But, you know,
okay.
I'll let you say that. You know, but yeah, pandemic. Okay, I like that. You know, but for getting paid, we're gonna say pandemic right now.
Right.
No, I'm not doing this for pay. I really care about what's happening out there. It was a game changer, COVID.
That's right.
Tell us, how was it difficult for you all to do your job? Or everybody, you know?
I just want to respond to that only because when the pandemic happened, street corner resources did not close. We did not go home. We did not pull the shutters down. We did not say, no, we're not going to be with our community. And actually, no one was outside during that time. And this was the early part of the pandemic, before people went inside. Street corner resources made, which was actually as being the head of street corner resources, I made a decision that we were going to wear masks. Masks were not mandated. And so my team was like, wow, you know, why we got to wear masks? Nobody's wearing masks. Everybody's laughing at us. Then about a week and a half later, the mask was mandated. But what I told my team, if the virus is airborne, it makes sense that you would catch it quickly because it's in the air. You breathe it, your eyes are open. Every orifice that is exposed is susceptible to catching COVID in it, meaning your eye, ears, nose, and throat. And so for that reason, we wore the mask. Not only that, we saw the numbers of people dying in what's called our catchment, the area in which we work. And really, we look at Harlem as our area. So all over Harlem, the zip codes were showing up on the television every morning as high numbers of people dying. People that I knew personally from being involved in the community were losing life, their uncles, aunts, grandmother, because of COVID. So when you say, how were we impacted by COVID, I just want to make it real clear that COVID, one, we were not informed of how dangerous it was early enough, and in our communities it take a little convincing for us to put a mask or something over our face. People thought that they were going to be hurt more by wearing a mask. People didn't understand how they infected each other. People were also living together in large numbers. So if you go to apartments in Harlem, just in Harlem alone, you might have 3 families in one apartment. And they're in there on rotation. You have people who sleep during the day because they work at night.
So
and,
was it,
all
it
of
hard
that.
for, was gang violence still?
What happened? So I wanted to just make the point about the way that people were living, and they had to stay home together, meant that all of those people that would be on rotation in an apartment, who sleep during the day and work at night, who work during the day and sleep at night, that's a rotation. And there's a system in these homes. Now everybody's there together because the workplaces have closed down. So we saw more intimate partner violence, more domestic violence. We saw people who didn't see each other in their own buildings and projects and blocks because they were at work or at school or doing other things. Now everybody's home, and so I got beef with you and you got beef with me. Now I see you.
So it escalated.
It escalated for all of those reasons. I want to be clear about the reasons of escalation. A lot of it also had to do with people were not working and income was not coming in.
Yeah, right.
So when income is not coming in, our community has always been creative about making money, right? And people were gambling, and a lot of them were gambling with no money. People have to understand what happened. It was about survival. And so They were gambling with no money. It's called ass betting. And then now you see people fighting over gambling because I realize that you're gambling in the circle, shooting dice, but you don't have no money. You understand? So you're getting a win on my money without having that have money to put up. So we saw people getting cut, stabbed, and shot for those reasons. And then we saw people arguing over space. Now space became an issue. Yo, you in my house, we let you sleep here, but now you don't have a job. Now you here all day, you eating all of the food, and now you see family fights. So a lot of that was generated because of COVID and people not having outlets and people not going to work and not having income and not having that income supported. I mean, that came later with all of that money, which caused a whole nother issue. So we just have to look at what was really happening in our community.
So that happened also, I guess it prohibited you from getting out there also, right?
Yeah, for me with COVID, she was always telling me, you know, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're covering up, make sure you have gloves, you have this, you have that.
But were you going out there to?
I caught COVID, so I was sick. I almost died. I had it for 3 long weeks.
Right.
Long, hard weeks. And no, I was not able to go in the community. I was in Staten Island. She was out there every day, boots on the ground.
Giving out masks.
We were afraid. People were afraid to go out their house. Like I said, I almost died, did not go to the hospital. I truly feel like God spared life because I didn't. Okay. Everyone was dying and everyone was going on ventilators. And I self-medicated at home. So no, I did not go out. It was hard to get out, to get around, to get in the community. Everyone was afraid. Street Corner Resources is the only organization out there outside. Everyone else was hibernating or, you know how it was. It was horrible. People were dying every day.
Yeah, I want people to understand how
and
it was
I came off a
difficult
cruise
for
with
you
it.
all. Wow.
I came fresh off a cruise with COVID.
We took a mobile unit. I just want to say we took that same mobile unit and we activated with the mobile unit. Actually, big shout out to Amazon who gave us 250,000 masks. And then all of the folks that were supporting us, a lot of the politicians that were supporting us and community that just brought masks to us when they saw that we were giving out masks, and the mayor named us as the first ambassadors. At that time, it was Mayor de Blasio because we were giving out masks. We were like the only people.
Only ones outside.
People would message me and say, "Get back in the house. Why are you outside?" We were actually safer outside because no one was out there.
Brother X, did your organization, did your workshops or anything, did that shut down, or were you able to continue the work during COVID?
Ma'am, I won't be able to answer that adequately, and as distinct as Brother Daleel would, because I've joined during that time. So it was
pretty good for you all for the
That's a good point. You know, during COVID, our operation didn't stop. We just went virtual. And one of the things that we have done was we was able to still reach the youth. We was able to still get the program, keep the program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of Mr. Farrakhan running.
Okay.
Our recruitment, it bore us Brother Leeworth X, who's been a stalwart and a top soldier since the time of COVID. He was able to join on to the Nation of Islam and to the FOI. During COVID, you know, it made things a little difficult, but we didn't stop. We was able to continue virtually our the teaching, our classes, and our lectures and our meetings on Sunday. But also, we was in the streets. We was out there distributing PPE. We was out there delivering the food pantries. We helped so many groups and organizations with who was lacking in manpower. The Nation of Islam was there. The FOI was there. The MGT was there. So it really didn't stop. It just gave us other creative ways of reaching our people during a difficult time such as COVID. We was able to, educate our people on the 17 different remedies for COVID, which our city unfortunately only puts out those pharmaceutical companies, but the natural remedies we were able to put out as well to help our people and some who have benefit from those remedies, as it was stated in the Final Call newspaper, our national organ, every week.
Okay.
So
Well,
COVID it gave us different ways of being creative and not stopping the program.
Okay, great. That's good to hear. We're about to take a break, but I want everybody to know how can one get in contact with you all.
So at Street Corner Resources, we are accessible, ongoing. You can reach us at 212-694-8759. You can also follow us on Instagram at Street Corner Res. You can follow us on Facebook at Street Corner Res, Twitter at Street Corner Res, and of course, you can see us in the community, on the ground, almost 7 days a week. We're just accessible. You can Google us, you can go on our website, you can inbox us, you can message us, and we will respond.
Okay. Brother X and Brother Muhammad, how can one get in contact with you all?
Sure. We're in the historic Harlem at 106 West 127th Street. And let me just take the opportunity to invite everybody out to our grand reopening, which is November 13th. The mosque's been under renovation for the last 2 months, but we'll be having our doors reopened on November 13th. So everybody who is within the sound of my voice and watching this program are invited. We open up the doors at 10 o'clock, and the program will be starting at 11 o'clock. Sister Iesha, I want you to be my special guest. Sister Tyqua, Dr. Wilson, Sister Dietra, y'all have a personal special invitation. But you can reach us at 106 West 127th
I'm sorry,
Street.
did you say my name too? I'm sorry.
I did.
Yeah.
I said Dietra. I said Dietra. Come on now. I'll say it again.
Okay.
But on November 13th at 10 o'clock, the doors open. We'd like to have you on the special guest list and to have y'all out there. But also we can be reached at on our website, noiNewYork.org. And also we on Facebook, Muhammad Mas, number 7 Historic Harlem. You can reach me, Brother Daleel, at my email, DaleelJabir, DaleelJabir @gmail. I'm always accessible to everyone. We also on social media at all of those platforms at DaleelJabir.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to thank my guests for coming here on a nice Saturday afternoon to spend time with DietraKelseyTV. Iesha has been here before, and she's
Many
always
times,
welcome
yes.
to come back.
And I didn't tell them where they can meet Dr. Wilson.
Okay, sure.
SurpriseTheStruggling.org. You could also follow me on Instagram at SurpriseTheStruggling, not struggle, the struggling. Twitter at StruggleLess. Facebook at #SurpriseTheStruggling. Or you can go to our website, www.surprisethestruggling.org. If you want to donate, be a part of it.
How
Meet
about
the
yourself?
people where they at.
How about yourself, Ty?
Oh, I'm at Street Corner.
Yeah,
You come to Street
that's
Corner,
why-
you find me.
That's
Yes.
why I thought that you all
Yes,
were about
ma'am.
that. Again, I want to thank my guests for coming. I want to thank my stage manager, Summer Star Gray. Thank you so much for staying on top of me. I want to thank the control room. Carla, yeah, and Tiffany, yeah. They want to make it work, and they did, the Zoom and all that. I'm doing this show because I think everybody needs to do something. I am an artist. I did write a musical, Whose Side Are You On?, about gang and gun violence, about a young man who's at a crossroads. Should he return to his spiritual upbringing or stay with the gang who avenged his father's murder? Whose side are you on? And I want to cast and work with people in the community. That's my input. That's my way of trying to stop the violence or cure the violence. And you can too. You don't have to have an organization. You don't have to be a writer. You can walk down the street with your head held high, wearing your crown. And I bet you some young person is going to look at that and say, wow, I want to be just like him or her. Okay, we'll be right back. And coming up is Kayden Hern, 8-year-old spoken word artist. And he won at the Apollo with a couple of his poems. I'm so grateful to have him. We'll be right back.
Nice.
We're back. We have a special guest, Kayden Hern. He's a spoken word artist and he's 8 years old. Kayden, how are you doing?
I'm great.
That's great. That's great. So you won the Apollo, the
Yes.
children's edition.
Yes.
Which one do you came in, first, second, or third?
First.
First. And it was spoken word.
Yes.
So you like writing poems, huh?
Yes.
So when did you start writing poems?
I started writing poems when I was 6 years old.
6 years old?
Yes.
Oh, what prompted you to write poems? Who's your favorite poet?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother writes poems?
No, she asks me questions.
She asked you questions?
Yes.
And so you wrote them down?
Yes.
And they turned into poetry?
Yes.
Okay. So who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite poet?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X? You read his book then, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know he was a poet, but he's a great speaker. And he wrote his speeches.
Yes.
And they were poetic. You know, I hate when people ask me this, but I'm going to ask you. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a businessman.
A businessman. What type of businessman?
I want that cars.
Cars? You like cars?
Yes.
What's your favorite car?
Lamborghini.
A who?
Lamborghini.
A Lamborghini. Good taste. Good taste. And I like your outfit. Do you pick your own clothes?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay. A Lamborghini. So you're going to be selling cars or probably making them and have your own big car company.
Yes.
So your poems, what prompted you to write your poems? First of all, what's the name of your poems? You're going to say 2 poems.
2 of them. Who am I and in my mind.
Okay, who am I? What's that about?
Who am I? It's about how corrupted white cops kill black men and female just because of their skin, and they don't like the way that the skin looks.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. And the second poem?
Second poem, it's about racism too and what has been going on in life.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I want you to give us a treat and tell us and recite your poems, okay?
Okay.
I want you to stand up and look at that camera over there.
Who am I? A child, a black male child, wanting to live, but not afraid to die, wanting to make my ancestors proud. Who am I? Hope and faith, hope to see a better world, fighting for justice and peace. So tired, hope it will cease. Who am I? Faith that racism will be a thing of the past. No more police brutality. Let's change that mentality into reality. Who am I? Power to speak out without a doubt. George Floyd, Eric Gardner, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor, and Sean Bell. Do those names ring a bell? Who am I? Just a black male child, wanting justice and peace. Who am I? A black male child, and that's who I am, hoping it will cease. In my mind, I used to be a child of poverty, not knowing that hopes and dreams can become reality. In my mind, I thought it was fine to sit in the back of the classroom because my teacher never asked me to read or write. Little did she know I was ever so bright. In my mind, I never used to understand why they used to call me ashy and black. I heard being black, living near the railroad track, those are the things that could hold you back. Now I understand why. Black is the color of my skin, so soft, beautiful, silky, and smooth. In my mind, I used to hear my grandmother cry. on her knees, bowing down, shouting, "Thank you, Lord, for all your blessings." Grandma's cries brought tears to my eyes. Grandma's cries was thanking God for all his blessings. Now I understand why. I used to hear my ancestor cry. They help lead the path so others won't have to die. In my mind, justice and peace. Oh, Father, please help me. And that's what I heard in my mind.
You know, thank you. You inspire me to keep doing what I need to do. All right, this is Dietra Kelsey. This is an extension of SistahTalk TV show. And as always, this is Dietra Kelsey. An extension of SistahTalk TV show. This is DietraKelseyTV. And as always, I'm wishing you peace, love, and remember to stay in the light. Keep it rolling. I want to say, how can someone get in contact with you?
So they can go to my YouTube channel, Kayden Hern official page, and my Instagram page, Kayden Hern 1103. Kayden H 1103.
Oh, wow. You have inspired me to do what I need to do. This is Dietra Kelsey, and you just finished watching DietraKelseyTV, an extension of SistahTalk TV. And as always, I am wishing you peace, love, and remember to stay in the light.